Beautiful. All right, Coach JB, thank you for coming on this interview. I really appreciate your time. So, all right, so now you caught my attention straight away when I seen your video pop up on TikTok. And a funny story with that is I created a new YouTube channel maybe like a couple of weeks before that, and separate to my music channel. And my mate was like saying, you should interview someone, you know, with an amazing success story, because my whole YouTube is about self-development. I said, man, I would love to do that. And then law of attraction, 2 days later, you popped up on my newsfeed. So, and now correct me if I'm wrong, because I tried to find that video again, but obviously you post like crazy on your social media. Now, that the video was you that night or something. I know you were in a pretty bad place or something, and I talk a lot about the book The Secret. And so correct me if I'm wrong, because I couldn't find the story of that video again. So that night when you were having really bad thoughts and stuff, your grandma actually told your mum to tell you to read the book, and that saved your life. Is that right? The Secret.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just start with the story, man. So
Yeah.
that was almost 15 years ago, December 18th. Well, it was 2 days after December 18th, 2006. So I'll walk you through the story, and then we'll fast forward to where we're at now, and then we'll just start the journey, man. So I'm Coach JB. I'm the CEO of 3T Fitness. We own a 3T Warrior Academy, a private warrior academy where we teach people mind, body, immunity, and generational wealth building. We also have a supplement company and then a podcast as well. So it wasn't always that way though. So I was picked on as a kid, chubby kid, typical story of a kid getting picked on. Some stuff happened to me when I was a child that really shouldn't happen to a child, but I carried that childhood trauma into my adulthood. And so I wasn't the guy that got the girls. I kind of struggled with meeting girls. I was really shy when it came to that arena. And so I discovered bodybuilding pretty early in my life. I picked up my first Flex magazine in 9th grade, and then I really got obsessed with it. My body just wouldn't change. It was like, man, I couldn't get that physique. I didn't understand what was going on. So I went in the military. I just really had no direction. Ended up going in the military. And in the military, I discovered this bodybuilding gym, and I just fell in love with bodybuilding. So I fell in love with the community, the bodybuilding. At first, it was a very, very healthy sport for me. So I went to Washington. I lost a bunch of weight, met this trainer, this old salty trainer, and I did my first bodybuilding show. And the first time I ever stepped on a bodybuilding stage, gosh, I was 19, I think 19 years old, 19 or 20. And I'll never forget the feeling. For once in my life, people were actually looking at me and like, paying attention to me. And I was like, I probably shouldn't have done the bodybuilding show. I didn't look that great, but for me, it was a huge accomplishment. And I got addicted immediately to the feeling. I was like, I want that attention again. And so that started this journey of fighting to get attention from the outside world. And first it started with steroids. And so people say steroids are not a gateway drug. I completely disagree with that. And the reason why it is a gateway drug is because it opens up a new paradigm for you. It has nothing to do with the actual drug, but it does open up a new environment, a new paradigm. And I'll talk a lot about that in the story today. But so make a long story short, a clean cut guy, military, get out of the military to pursue my bodybuilding career. Steroids became more drugs. And then next thing you know, I actually ended up having a leg injury before a bodybuilding show. And I took a Vicodin or an opiate. And I took the opiate, and I remember I was training legs that day, and I still, as my body improved, my insecurity got deeper. It was really interesting. The better my body looked, the little boy kept getting deeper and deeper, and I kept fighting to get attention. And remember, I took that opiate. I remember I was driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden I felt confident. I was like, holy crap, that felt good. And I never felt a confidence like that in my life. And so I didn't really care about the injury. I was like, next day I took another one, felt fantastic. Next day I took one, and then it was two, then it was three, typical opiate addiction. And all of a sudden within 3 years, I was a full-blown opiate addict. I was building a big company. And so unbeknownst to me, my whole life was spiraling, and the drug became my full focus. Well, that'll get to the secret part of it. And so on December 18, 2006, there's a long story behind it. Completely destroyed my business. Couldn't take care of my 3-year-old daughter, had lost all my money, lost the business. So I attempted suicide on December 18, 2006. And so the secret comes in 48 hours later from a phone call. All of a sudden I receive a phone call, and last thing I remember is I attempted suicide. So I'm in this huge fog 48 hours later, and I go to look at my phone, and it says mom on the front of it. You know, the old Razor flip phones. I looked, and I'm like, heck? And my mom is my best friend. And so we had kind of a broken relationship at that point. And so I pick it up and I'm in a complete fog. Imagine I took a massive amounts of opiates to kill myself. And so I pick up the phone and she says, my mom's a very classy lady, but she's like, I don't know what the fuck is going on with you, but you need to read a book called The Secret. Your grandma told me you need to read it. And so I just dropped everything and I'm like, I'm not dead. Holy crap, I'm not dead. And so I couldn't rationalize that. So I got in my big H2 Hummer, the Ego, and I drive down to the bookstore and I get this book called The Secret and I had the CD in it. So I come back to my bodybuilding company. I had a bodybuilding company. There's pictures all over the walls of bodybuilders. And, you know, we were all on the same slippery slope. And I created that. And so I put the CD in and I'm watching it. And I'm like, oh my God. I actually asked for all of this because I wanted to be popular so bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. I created a singular focus about being popular. And I ended up in, you know, Muscle Mag, a couple magazines overseas. I'm like, I got what I wanted because I was so laser focused. I can do it the other way. And so I started to identify with my name. And I'm like, what is my name? My name is John. That's a physical name that was given to me by birth, right?
Yeah.
And I stopped identifying with John and all the stuff that happened to John. And I killed that guy. I literally killed him. And so that guy committed suicide. And I started with JV. So I started calling myself JV. Started saying, I'm great. I'm powerful. I'm healthy. I'm wealthy. Now at this point, I have like negative $300 in my account. My business is completely crumbled. Everybody's looking at me like I'm a loser. Well, in my eyes, my paradigm. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get into recovery. I did it myself, started building these behaviors. I started building these patterns. And now here we are 15 years later. So throughout that time, I ended up becoming, I met a mentor through my positive, you know, affirmations, met a mentor, got a job, made executive in the record time, became an executive banker, wrote a couple books. And then again, I was falling into another addiction, which was success and money. So I had the 535 BMW, the big house. And I was like, you know what? This is a goddamn pattern I keep following. There's something to this because I'm trying to prove to somebody outside of myself that I'm worth it. And at 35 years old, excuse my language, but I told everybody to fuck off. And I said, I'm going to follow me. I'm going to do me. And now here's the thing. I'm now in executive banking school. When you graduate from an executive banking school, I mean, you're there. I mean, you're there, right? You can get these huge salaries. So I graduated executive banking school and I make a conscious decision that I'm leaving because of my gut. It didn't feel right. And if you see a lot of my TikToks, I talk about economics and banking. And so I made a conscious decision 3 years ago to completely walk out of corporate America. And it's been quite the whirlwind the last 3 years. I've invested not only every bit of my money, but my life, my soul to this business. And now we have a Warrior Academy that's global. We're in rightfully in 7 different countries now, podcasts all over the world. And we're just getting started. I mean, we've done over, close to, 4,000 or 5,000 social media posts, 800 podcasts. And here we are now. And then the journey is really just starting, to be honest with you. And so that's the story of how I started with The Secret. Now, my expertise the last 15 years is subconscious mind programming and becoming an expert in understanding the left hemisphere of the brain and the right hemisphere of the brain. And so we teach our academy members, and mostly myself, I tell people I'm not your leader or coach. I need to be the best version of myself, and that will overflow into others. And so I operate heavily in the right hemisphere of my brain, and that's where I'm at now, man. So I'll pause for a moment. I know there's a lot of information, but that's how The Secret came about.
Yeah. So that's amazing, man. That is an incredible story. That's why I had to reach out to you. That's why I had to. So that brings me to my next question. So I was going to say, like, how did The Secret change your life? And when you first read the book, did you think, oh, this is a load of crap, this is nonsense, or and what did you start to apply from The Secret into your life? What was the first thing you applied?
You know, it's interesting. For some reason, I didn't think it was a crock of shit. I don't know why. For some reason, I think why I didn't think that is because I didn't have anything else to go on. I literally had, so maybe I had an advantage because my whole life was messed up, man. Maybe it was like I was sitting there and so let me tell you what it made me realize. It made me realize that I was the cause and effect of every single thing that happened in my life. And I could literally go back and think of how I reacted when one of my best friends in the whole wide world ended up going with the girl that I wanted to go with in 9th grade, this prom type thing, right? That little tiny decision on how I reacted to that caused a domino of my insecurity and all these little timeline decisions. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now I'm explaining it as I understand it now. Back then, all I knew was whatever I put behind the words I am becomes my truth. So that's what I got from it. So I started doing the vision board. I mean, we have vision boards all over our academy right here. So what I realize is that what I say my thoughts become a vibration. My vibration becomes an actual thing in the physical reality. And so what it taught me is that I actually am the creator of everything around me. Now, I believe in God. I have a very different view of God. I believe every single religion. I love every religion. I love every human being. I believe God is omni, God is presence, God is one. We are all meant to be in his likeness and image. But what I realized is Rhonda Bryan took the concepts of the Bible, the great I am, into a book, letting us know that we are all kings. We can do this. Like, we can actually do this. And so what it did is it instilled the confidence in me that anything is possible through your words, and not only through your words, but your actions. So
yeah, amazing. Yeah, and I totally agree with that, man. Like, we are literally like, whatever you put out into the universe is exactly what you're going to get back, you know. So I'm a big believer in that as well. So your love for fitness and all that, did that come before you read The Secret, or was that something that you've always had growing up as a kid? Or did that evolve more the more that you started to learn about yourself and, you know, who you are?
great question. Yeah, so it evolved when so it was ninth grade. So I wrote a book. It's called Roids. So take the S out of steroids. So Roids to Riches,
Yeah,
the fallen arts of the spiritual man. So I talk about in ninth grade because I just had that chubby little boy mentality where and so I remember we had to go into weight training. We had to pick an elective class, and so I got weight training. I was so scared, man. I was like, oh
yeah,
my God, there's all these athletes. I wasn't good at football. I wasn't good at sports. Always got left out in the sports. I was that kid, right?
yeah,
And so I remember where I fell in love with it is I laid down on a bench for the first time and I grabbed onto that steel bar. And when
yeah,
I had the bar, that was it. And I remember I went down and I was like, boom. And I actually, for once in my life, was like, wait a minute. I'm actually in control whether this goes up or down.
yeah,
Nobody else can fucking tell me if this thing goes. That's what went through my head in ninth grade.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
like, nobody can tell me whether this goddamn thing gets off of me. And it clicked in my head. So I became obsessed. So I remember Flex Wheeler was on the cover of a magazine when I was in ninth grade, Flex magazine. And I asked my mom to buy me that magazine at the grocery store that day, or the drugstore.
yeah,
And I just started reading, became obsessed with bodybuilding. And the problem was, though, is my body wasn't changing like these guys. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm eating the food, I'm working out. My mom would drop me off early in the morning until I ended up in California when I was in the military, the Mecca of bodybuilding. And I discovered that there was some enhancement that these guys were using. And that's what opened the whole Pandora. So my love for it started in ninth grade. Now, when I attempted suicide and I started my rebirth, I thought that fitness was destructive because of the way that I experienced it.
yeah,
And I tried to believe it or not, I tried to get back into bodybuilding about 5 years after my recovery. And it was beautiful because I did 3 shows, sorry, my apologies, 3 shows, and I lost every single one of them. And I was like, what? So it was God saying, wake up, there's a whole different realm to fitness. So I started doing functional training. That's what I teach now. I teach high intensity functional training, breathing and meditation. Got into breathing, meditation, fasting. And so now I do more a holistic approach to training. I want to be big, fast, not big, sorry, fast, strong, efficient. We call it a warrior. So warrior is kind, caring, loving, compassionate, most of all calm, but at any time can activate to protect their family, what they believe in. A warrior is not a man nor a woman, it's a spirit. So we do what's called warrior training.
beautiful.
So, yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, same. Actually, a little bit of a story with me actually as well. I've actually, I did bodybuilding for about 3 years, took it seriously competing 3 years as well. And I won 3 first place competitions as well. Yeah, I went to nationals and stuff. And one thing with me as well was that I was always envisioning and seeing something before it happened. I just never knew it was a thing. And I would always visualize, like, because I used to be massive Phil Heath, Flex Wheeler as well, and just visualizations and stuff, you know. And I would always just imagine like me on the stage and, you know, doing my back double bicep and, you know, the judges and that saying, yeah, number 11 or whatever it was, you know. And lucky through me, I had a really good coach. He was my uni teacher as well, because I studied sports therapy for 3 years as well. So he was a really good coach and I had a really good run. But like you said, I met a lot of bodybuilders along the way that were traumatized from their experience of doing it, and either with the diet or the coach or too much drugs and too much this. And then, like you said, that had a bad effect on their mental state. So they connected the two with each other, like, you know, bad, like fitness was bad and bodybuilding was bad. And I hated it and all that. And then their love for fitness and themselves just started going downhill. So it's very
Yeah.
similar to what you were
Well,
saying.
too, because what happens is if we study the mind, right? So you're at your frontal lobe, and your frontal lobe, through the steroids, through the intensity, through the roid rages, whatever you call it, the up and down lifestyle, that actually thins out your frontal lobe. And especially a lot of bodybuilders, unfortunately, that go into that realm. Opiates are a huge thing that's abused within bodybuilding. It's because of, and a lot of bodybuilders that I was around in that level had a lot of childhood trauma, picked on as kids, maybe didn't get the girls, and so the bodybuilding became their identity. Some people were just great athletes and just flow right into bodybuilding, but there was a lot of guys like me that were trying to prove something or found peace in the iron through tragedy and things like that. And so, which can be very positive, but for me, like, bodybuilding is not a bad thing, but for me, in that realm, it's destructive. And what The Secret taught me too is that the environment that I'm in is very critical, because I had never taken a drug in my life, and within 3 to 4 or 5 years, I'm snorting cocaine, doing ecstasy in nightclubs, strip club. I mean, completely different person than I was raised to be, or even was 5 years earlier. So it does prove that whatever you're around, you become, right? And so I started to rationalize everything. Well, these guys I look up to as bodybuilders are out in strip clubs, and they're partying, they're doing cocaine, they don't drink because it's bad for their diet. And I'm like, okay, well, if they do it. And so that's why environment's very, very important. So
yeah, no, I totally agree, 100%. All right, and so my next one is, so how important is, now I know you talk a lot about this, so how important is a morning routine to you? Like, so for me, I tell my guys, wake up in the morning, and I used to be really bad with this. I used to wake up in the morning, check my phone straight away. All of a sudden, all these negative thoughts were going through my head, and it just fuck up my whole day. So I tell my guys, like, wake up in the morning, say 3 things you're grateful for. You know what I mean? Don't touch your phone. Either put your favorite song on or listen to someone powerful in your ear. And from listening to you, actually, with all the money affirmations and that, I've just recently started doing that myself. So how important is a morning routine, and how does that, affect you throughout the day?
Oh, it's absolutely important. Yeah, I was shocked. The one I did about 4 a.m., I mean, it's still taken off. I mean, it's like 4 million views. And I think because what I said is you should wake up at 4 a.m. and there's a lot of hate comments on it, because what people don't understand is successful people wake up early. There's no disputing that. Successful people wake up early. There's something, first of all, there's something spiritual happening in the morning before the sun comes up. That's the Bhagavad Gita. You can go into Buddhism. You can go into all the spiritual religions, Jesus, there's something spiritual. Spiritual leaders wake up before the sun comes up, right? And so that's the first thing. Number 2 is that we're constantly programming our subconscious mind. Now, since birth, this is really important to understand the morning routine. Since birth, when you were in the womb, your subconscious mind was starting to be programmed, and you didn't have a conscious mind until you were 8. So you have all this deep-rooted subconscious mind programming from your parents, right? So mine was, we weren't poor, but we weren't wealthy. We just had a impoverished type mindset, right? So I was raised, and we can't afford that. Money doesn't grow on trees. So I had this really deep-rooted subconscious mind programming. So I made a lot of money in my life, but wasn't able to maintain it because my programming was incorrect, right? So it was blocking the abundance from staying. And so when I started to realize subconscious mind, I started to create really powerful patterns. And so when our brain is going from beta, when we go to sleep, to theta, right? So it's either beta, I think it's beta to theta. So it's moving from conscious awareness to subconscious awareness. Now, why it's so important in the morning is because during the night, I listen to I Am Money Magnet, right? And so constantly it's I am wealthy, I am healthy. And I'll tell a story about that in a second. Well, right when you wake up, you're moving back from theta to beta. And there's this moment in time where your subconscious is literally wide. Imagine a parachute opens up and it's like, give me information. So right when you wake up, if you listen to 432 HT, 532 HC, where you start doing like humming or bringing in, like you said, 3 affirmations while you're sitting on the toilet. I am great. I am healthy. I am wealthy. What's happening is you're literally programming your mind for the day. Also, another thing that's important about a morning routine is to make sure that you, like, every once in a while, disrupt your patterns, because we come up into, for example, why most people are in the same generational patterns and cyclic patterns. They go in the same relationships, they get a new job, they're complaining about their job again, is because we literally have the same thoughts every single day. So the average human has 12,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of the thoughts are from the day before, and most of the thoughts are negative. And the reason why is because they wake up, they grab their phone, they look at TikTok, they go sit on the toilet, they scroll on their ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend's social media, they get all pissed off, they get irritated, they're mad, and it's literally this vicious cycle. But they want to be successful, and they're wondering why they can't reach success. And so the morning routine is unbelievably critical, most of all because of that theta to beta, because in that moment in time, you have the opportunity to get your mind ready for the day. And then how you, like, for example, I'm big on fasting. I don't eat minimum until noon every single day. I do one meal a day.
Yeah.
And that's for brain clarity, because I get most of my productivity done. Another thing about waking up early is that whatever, I don't care what anybody says, when you have zero distractions, no TikTok videos going off, nobody texting you, nobody calling you can be so productive. My biggest productivity is, so this may sound weird, but on Saturday, I have 2 kids. I'm a single father. So from 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday morning, I come to our academy and I work. And I probably get about a month's worth of work in 2 days, just because of the zero distractions. Zero. I'm just flow state. I'll do like 30 TikTok videos. I'll draft them. I have a podcast. I do a podcast every day. And it just feels so good. So when I go into Monday, my schedule is completely clear.
Yeah.
And so I can do interviews, I can do stuff like that. But what people do is they continue to, it's just this thing where I don't know, it's a lack of productivity thing that people are struggling. And remember, we made up time. Like, we actually made time. And once we made time constraints, we made stress, we made anxiety. And so what that does is it alleviates that time window, really, for me. It's like I have all this productivity by the time people woke up. And so I can actually be with my clients in my academy, and I can be engaged in conversations like this. And I'm not thinking about tomorrow, because all my work is done for tomorrow. I flow into tomorrow completely free. So morning routines are critical. What you drink, what you think, what you watch, what you do, how you drive to work, the stuff you listen to when you drive to work is super important.
Yeah. And that's so true. Like, when you have a schedule and you plan out your schedule and stuff, then, you just have a clear mind, you're just prepared and everything like that. And yeah, I guess you're right, without a schedule now, you're always just, you do become time poor, because you're rushing around, and then you don't realize when you start blocking things in, fuck, I've got an hour free here, I've got an hour free here, I've got half an hour here. And then you really start realizing where exactly you're properly spending your time and how much time you can really utilize, you know what I mean? And another thing as well, like, I tell people, like, so many people say, oh, I don't have enough time, or if I'm going to do something, I want to give it my all, and I tell them, you can't really ever give life, like, put all your eggs in one basket. You can't give something your all, because if you give something your all, then you're going to neglect yourself. And then if you give something your all, you're going to neglect your wife, your husband, your love life, whatever it is. So you have to learn how to spread your time out evenly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you got to have that balance too. And it's like,
Yeah.
one thing that's important about blocking focus. If you're wanting to be successful, eventually people are going to want your time, right?
Yeah.
And so the worst thing you can do is not be organized, because if you sign up for the life of helping people, or being a motivator, or being very successful, or writing books, and you really want that success, I caution people about that, because you're literally signing up to give up your time, right? If you want to be silent, you want to be behind the scenes, then do it. But if you really want to be successful, you're going to be out there in front of people. And if you don't do that block and focus time, when you're actually with a person, you're thinking about the next task you have to do. So you're really not engaged with that person. And then what I realized is that I'm present in every single moment, right? Sometimes I get pulled out, but usually I'm present in every single moment. And I've literally seen opportunity after opportunity show up in the most unlikely places that most people would miss.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, oh God, I got 6 things to do tomorrow. I got a podcast interview. I got this, I got that. And they're like, and right there, that next business deal was standing right in front of them, or their next relationship, or their next book author, or the person who would write their next book. And I could literally tie so many pieces together for you. And so we live what's called, we call it in the right hemisphere of the brain, right? And that's lack of resistance. We live a completely abundant lifestyle. And what that means is, we own a fitness company, right? For COVID-19, we got shut down. And so, but it was the best thing ever happened to us, because we don't let anything in our physicality affect our reality, right? Everything is good. Everything is happening for us. Nothing's happening to us. Yeah. So when we lose money, we're like, okay, that's just a lesson. What did we learn from that, right? And we're like, awesome. Okay, we lost $14,000. Okay, so what did we learn from that? Boom, we bounce back. We don't make that mistake again. So that's another thing is, I don't know if you hear me talk a lot about brain clarity. I'm obsessed with having brain clarity. I'm obsessed with that feel. Like right now it's 6 o'clock at night. I've been up since 2:50. I have tons of energy because I'm completely obsessed with brain clarity. It's like I was obsessed. I'm a addictive personality type person. Yeah. The obsession is this feeling right here of just pure, like, I just want to go, man. I would forget to sleep if people wouldn't tell me I have to sleep.
Yeah. And that's so true. Like, I'd say a lot as well, like, God will never just say here you go, here's the thing, like that life will always present you with options, you know what I mean, and opportunities. So it's up to you if you're aware of your surroundings and you're aware of where this opportunity could take you, you know, and why one door closed is the reason why another door is going to open, you know what I mean? So I'm a big believer in that as well. So what's something, so if someone has a negative thought, a negative mindset, what's a good way for them to overcome it? Where's a good place for them to start if they have, you know, there's someone that has a lot of negative thoughts and that, where's something good for them to start? What can they
Yeah. So first, I would tell the person not to beat themselves up, because that's completely normal. And I always say, if we peel back everybody's mind and we could see the actual thoughts, even to include me, who practices on a daily basis, who's in meditation, prayer all day. If you see my video, I always have my headphones on all the time. I'm always subconscious mind programming if I'm not talking to somebody. I even have negative thoughts, right? And so what I would tell them, first of all, you're normal. So don't beat yourself up. It's completely normal to have negative thoughts. We're designed that way, right? Now, but it's irresponsible to hold on to those, right? So what I would tell them is, number one, you're going to have to practice, just like you talk crap about yourself on a daily basis, you got to go 10 times harder on the positive affirmations. And so what I always do is, when a negative pattern starts to expose itself, I have a mantra that I follow. And so mine is a lot about money. And I want to really caution when I say this, because people say, oh, he's all about getting rich. Has zero to do with that. I've had tons of money, man. I've had the 535 IBM. It doesn't mean I'm not going to buy a nice car. But when I buy a nice car, will not be my identity. That's the big difference, right? What I mean by, if you're in our academy here, you're going to see the word freedom everywhere, right? Money to me represents freedom for every single human being around me. Money is energy and vibration. So when I say this, I want to make sure people know that it has nothing to do with having a fancy car, right? So what I do is, I love Bob Proctor. I love Bob Proctor. So he has the saying, I'm so happy and grateful for the money that comes to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a continuous basis. I probably repeat that close to 1,000 times a day. So my recommendation is, when you feel that negative thought pattern coming in, you come up with a mantra and you repeat it obsessively, like almost like you're going crazy. Because what we don't realize is, because we're so used to it, that we're doing those negative thought patterns obsessively. So you have to become obsessed with it, but it feels like work because it feels unnatural. And so that's the part about it. You have to start doing it until it just becomes natural. Again, like you said too, just that you give amazing advice. If you write, you see our books, we all have books here. So all our coaches. So every single morning we write 10 things we're grateful for. Immediately that puts you into a positive state of mind. Immediately. So that's my recommendation, is to have that mantra and have it everywhere until you memorize it. Another thing is talking really highly about yourself. So if you listen to my podcast, I always say, my name is Coach JB. I am the top health and mindset coach in the world. Now, I don't know how you measure that, or I don't know how someone would measure, but I believe that that's all that matters. I've had people question me on that. How do you measure you're the top health? It doesn't matter. It's in my paradigm. I'm the top health and mindset. But the weird thing is, ever since I started saying on my podcast, there's something. I mean, we can get deeper into energy and vibe, because I was just doing this just by believing in I am affirmations, and now 15 years later, I understand the law of energy and vibration, and more not vibration but magnetism. You know, Nikola Tesla, the 369 theory, the Fibonacci sequence, you know, connection to God, and like it's God's fingerprint is everywhere. You can't deny that. No matter if you're an atheist or whatever you don't believe, you can't deny that there's something you believe. So someone says, oh, I don't believe it. I'm not going into religion, but I don't believe in God. But you believe that there's wind, right? You don't see it. So, you know, you believe in something that's not visible. But what we have to know is that everything is reacting to you and your thoughts. And I'm living proof of that. I mean, I took a massive amount of opiates 15 years ago to kill myself, had negative money in my account, couldn't take care of my 3-year-old daughter. I had to literally go back and live with my parents. I've lost my money 3 times, lost my money again when I left corporate America. We built this business. I lost my money again, rebuilt it again, just got divorced about a year ago. You know, assets got separated, lost all my money, built it back up. And then COVID hits, we lost all our money. And then 6 months later, I'm right back to abundance again. Like, how do I keep doing that? How? It's because I don't believe the narrative. So when we went back down to zero, we lost 78% of our revenue. And, you know, the other 20, whatever percent, 20, the math, I was using that to keep the business open, right? But I'm like, no, we're good. And during that time, we went viral on TikTok, we went global. And I'm like, we're back. And it's right here. And I just want to encourage people that, because when people see lack of success, they have to know that there is a mathematical process to this. You can't beat the math. You just can't. Now, someone says, well, I know this guy that got really successful very quickly, or this gal that got successful really quickly. You really don't know that they were practicing when they were a child, or you really don't know that their parents may have set them up for that. Maybe their parents did a lot of really good work, like I do with my kids now. My kids are subconscious beast. You know, if you ever see some of my TikToks with my son, you say 4 years old. I'm like, what are you? He's like, I'm a warrior. What are you? I'm a champion. And he says, I'm rich. He understands cryptocurrency. He understands. My kid literally looks at my cryptocurrency thing. I teach him. People would think, like, somebody saw us one time, like, oh, that's weird. And I'm like, my son literally looks at the cryptocurrency. He's like, Dad, we went up. He looks at percent. He's 4 years old. He knows percentages. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want him to know that money can come easily.
Yeah.
It can. It really, really does, because it's just law and vibration. So I know I went deep into that, but I just like to encourage people, because it's like I'm walking and I'm very vulnerable too. If you watch my TikToks, like I tell people when I lose my money, I'm like, fuck, I lost everything. But I tell people the physicality, because there's a lot of bullshit out there, man. There's a lot of people out there that are on TikTok, that are on social media, anything. They're like, oh, you know, laptop millionaires. There really is no easy way to become a millionaire. There really is no easy way to become successful. You become successful when you truly become who you're supposed to be, and you're genuine and your intentions are pure. That's when you become rich. That's really, because you can make $30,000 a year and be rich if your mindset is about it. So.
Yeah, 100%. And that's another thing that I say as well. Money is the tool to grant you freedom, and then freedom is what comes with the happiness. You know what I mean? So I'm a big believer in that. Big believer as well in like quantum physics as well. Like we are a vibration. You know what I mean? So whatever it is that we think, because we are atoms, we're made up of atoms, and we can't even probably fucking see it. But whatever it is that we want and we feel and we think, it'll come. It will attract you. And as well, I say to a lot of people, like when they're saying, oh, I've been doing this, and how come it's not coming? It's like the universe is just a little bit behind, cause and effect. That you just keep showing up every single day, and the universe will reward you eventually. So, you know, just keep at it, don't stop, you know. So
yeah, and you said something pretty powerful too, because when people say to me, it's not coming, you're right. You literally are blocking. So what I realize is, so I love listening. I listen to all kinds of different people, but one of the speakers talks about resistance, and I was like, it's me. It's me that's stopping it. It's me from slowing this company. So I'm like, so when we lost everything for COVID, I'm like, God, this is yours, man. I'm like, I'm going to show up every day. I don't care if you pay me. I don't care. And all of a sudden we went from 0 to 60 like that. And so it's practicing resistance. And because resistance is people, places, things, environments, and it's going to come when you want to be successful. Like you coach people to be successful. And so it's like, so when someone says, oh man, I'm going to go be successful. I always use MLM, multi-level marketing companies, as an example. So, you go to these meetings, and, I used to do all those MLMs, and they're the reason why they're great setups for somebody who wants to experience entrepreneurship and understand how goddamn hard it is. Because so you go into an MLM company, you go to the meeting, and it's like, yeah, I'm so excited. And then you go to try to sell your lotion to a bunch of people, and they're like, no. Oh, your friends and family will buy from you for a second because they feel sorry for you. And then the real work starts. And then it's like, you got to ask people, and you get rejected. And all that is it's just not a rejection. It's just building the foundation for when you do reach this success, that you can handle it. Because now, for example, we went from, I've been doing this for 3 years straight, nonstop, 16 hours a day. And we went from like just crickets to now, we're doing 2 to 3 podcast interviews a day. We're going to be flying to different countries. And I'm like, okay, and people are like, oh, you must have had an overnight success. No, almost 5,000 social media posts, thousands of YouTube videos. We hardly get any views on our YouTube. We get like an average of 47 views on our YouTube videos. And we have 1,500 subscribers. We post a video a day. I've done 800 podcasts in 3 years. And it's just starting to take off, and we're not even close. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, what is you're a top bodybuilder, right? Yeah. Would you agree that after you get that trophy, it's like a deflate. It's like you get the trophy, and then why do you go back into it again?
Yeah,
it's like, not the trophy. Yeah. It's the journey. It's the fact that you're a badass and you were able to eat like a freaking rabbit for the 18 weeks, and you were able to train harder than anybody else, and you put in the work. It was the journey, not the trophy. The trophy felt good. It was a dopamine response. Yeah. But what you got addicted to, or you wouldn't do it, is the process. the fact that you were superhuman for 18 weeks. That's what we're addicted to. So I've fallen in love with the grind. If we, that I have some stuff that's taken off now, and it's like, it's not taken off. It's just what's next? It's just going to keep growing. And so what I want to do while I'm on this earth is I want to make an impact, a lasting impact on people's lives. I want people to know that everybody has the ability to be successful. And the thing is, you can't compare yourself to other people. Coach JV is Coach JV.
Yeah.
I don't encourage any of my warriors to be anything like me. I'm like, not even remote. You don't want to be like me. You don't want to work 16 hours a day, have no balance. I don't date. I don't have a sex life. And that's purposely for me because I chose to try to heal people and help people. And so it's a life I chose. So I have to protect my energy. You really don't want a life like this. It's pretty damn lonely, And so I encourage people to like become who they're meant to. And so I do want to talk about, if you don't mind, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere.
Yeah.
So it's something that's important. What's going on? I just want to get this message out on the podcast because
of course.
Because people, what's happening in our world? If I had a microphone and I could talk to the whole world right now, I would tell them 4 things. We need to get back to gut health, fasting, number 1. Number 2, we have to start moving again, right? Let's think about the world, what's happening right now. Number 3, we have to get back to breath, back to center. And then number 4, we have to get to silence. And now what happens is you have the left hemisphere of your brain, the right hemisphere of your brain. Those 4 things will pull you into the right hemisphere, and that's God consciousness. No matter what you breathe in, it's a connection to your higher self. So you don't believe in God, it's a connection to your higher self. That's where your colostrum comes from. That's where your pineal gland is. And if we get back to those 4 things, that's simple. If you could do that once a day, those 4 things, you'll literally be like 1% of the population. And when you do that, that's when the abundance floodgates start to open, because where the peace is in silence. Is in silence. And that's why anxiety is through the roof. That's why drug abuse is through the roof, because think about all the noise we have. I mean, it's TikTok. I mean, TikTok is addicting, man. It's like dopamine. We call it the TikTok spiral, right? I get caught up in it. But what I do every single day is I breathe, deep breaths. I spend about 15 minutes in complete silence. That's why you can take Buddhist monks. I mean, there's a Discovery Channel video on it where they take Buddhist monks. They're in complete silence. No thoughts, right? No humming, and they put super ice blankets on them, and it just burns off because they're just so focused and so centered. Nothing can affect them. It's God's consciousness. Like I went through the Wim Hof training, and Wim Hof, like he can sit in ice up to his neck because he controls his breathing and he stays centered. So I just try to get that out on the podcast, because if you get to those 4 things a day, you'll heal your relationship. You can heal your health. You can heal your anxiety. You can heal. So it's something that we teach here. It's just getting back to breath and center, because what do we see? Just chaos. And I live in a completely different paradigm. I'm maybe ignorance is bliss. I don't watch the news. Anybody that's negative on my social media, I delete them. I control my whole paradigm because I have warriors here that are trying to heal and trying to get better. So I thank you for giving me that time. I just wanted to share that because we got to get back to breath. We got to get back to center. Oh, and then 5th, a bonus, you got to be in nature, man. You got to get your feet in the dirt. You got to connect with the ground. And that's used to be hippie stuff, right? But it works. That's God's consciousness, man.
It really does. It really does. And we had a team meeting on Monday last week, and I don't know if you know a guy called Adrian Wesley.
No.
So he's like one of the best psychologists as well, and he talks about, like, without your health you're nothing, and when your health is good, then you can start to make money, you can start to make sales, you can start to be the best version of yourself, of course, when your health is tip top. So I'm all about that, man. I'm all about that 100%. So I was going to ask, so what's some good resources and books, videos that you would recommend to people to, if they want to start this journey,
Yeah, so we talked about The Secret multiple times. The Secret is a great place to start because of the thoughts. It's very conceptual, right? If you can grasp the concept, if you can grasp the concept of The Secret and take away all your subconscious mind programming as you read it, and just read it and understand that there's science now backing it. When I read it 15 years ago, you didn't have like Dr. Joe Dispenza speaking out. Dr. Joe Dispenza kind of brought science and religion together, where there's, say, the power of prayer. The power of prayer is when somebody accepts accepts it, it creates a vibrational field within their body and creates magnetism, right? If somebody accepts a prayer and a bunch of people are praying over somebody, you can actually see a physiological change within their body. So the secret is real. It's 100% real. It's God's consciousness. And then Think and Grow Rich. I talk about that book nonstop. The reason why I talk about it is because it already talks about the secret principles. In 1920, it was remastered in 1939. It has 13 principles in there that are super powerful. And for men specifically, I talk a lot, and in the book, it talks about that, controlling sexual energy. It has changed my life. So I got separated about a year ago, been divorced. I've just been focused on healing myself, the little boy inside, and not being codependent on a woman or a female in my life, and being a good father, and then taking that sexual energy and pouring it into my work. So that's a book that I highly recommend, but people skim right over that sexual energy piece. It's a really it's a big part of the book. So Secret, Think and Grow Rich. I'm big on Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm a very risky investor the way that I invest. Rich Dad Poor Dad, and those are, and then the kind of counterintuitive to those, but would be The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh my gosh! So that's where I got to the center and breast. So I'm kind of like this. I'm like a mix of all of it. I'm a warrior. I'm like the half warrior, half calm. And so our whole training platform is we go from we train people for life. We go from extreme high intensity movement to breathing. So I teach them controlling the chaos and becoming the chaos. And so Eckhart Tolle taught me how to just sit. I mean, you just sit in silence, and it's really, really difficult because, I mean, if you look at, I mean, I could show you, I mean, I have literally around me, so we have a studio here. We go global all over the world. So we have on podcasts, and we have studio, and there's just blue light, and there's lighting everywhere. And I'm just like, and so I'm in the matrix, but I can step out of it by catching my breath. So The Power of Now, The Secret, Think and Grow Rich, and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Those are foundational books that all my warriors read. So.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. So what would you say to someone that that procrastinates a lot, someone that wants to sit in an idea? So someone, because how many times can you tell someone and they'll hear it and they'll sit there and say, oh, I'll wait till Monday, I'll wait till the new year, or I'll wait till, till a perfect opportunity. Like, what's your advice on someone that procrastinates, and what does that actually teach them subconsciously moving forward? How does that affect them, to someone that procrastinates?
Man, I'll tell you what. So I call it the 600-pound gorilla. So number one, it creates what's called the 600-pound gorilla, just hangs out on your back. So procrastination is a very, very destructive thing to your psyche. Number one, to your subconscious, right? But it also will destroy your success. And here's why. So this is what most people do. Monday is, I love Mondays, because my schedule is completely clean on Mondays because of my lack of procrastination. So when people come into Monday, they have a difficult customer to deal with or a tough conversation to have. And they're like, if I could just push this off till Tuesday. Then they push it off till Tuesday, and then something happens on Tuesday. Now you have two things. So I want them to think about this conceptually, because everybody can relate to this. Then it goes into Wednesday, and you're like, you know what, I'll push the Monday to, now you have three things. Then they'll push it to Thursday, and most people live, for the weekend, which is a horrible way to live your life, right? And so then you go into Friday, and all of a sudden you now have 5 things that you haven't taken care of, and you're just looking for the clock because you hate your job, and you're like, okay, man, I'm going to start this business. I know when I get home, I'm going to grind. And now you get the 5 o'clock clock, and now you have 5 things, 5 little monkeys sitting on your back. Now, why procrastination is dangerous? Because now you go home with 5 monkeys on your back. You literally can't think right. You walk into your house with your spouse, partner, lover, and you're so focused on those 5 things. You're going to run your business. You walk by your spouse. So not only does the procrastination affect your work life, you're not going to be properly building your business because you're not focused, but you're also intuitively or instinctively affecting your relationships around you. And now your wife partner is pissed at you. Then you go into Monday, and now what happens is you start to get this 600-pound gorilla on your back. And so what we teach the warriors is to practice handling the most difficult thing by noon every single day. It literally provides freedom to you. And so for me, I pick a time during the weekend, like I told you, 3 to 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, I don't recommend people do that. Some people are night owls, but pick a time where there's nobody around. You get that peace and quiet. And if you're married to somebody, ask for that time. Say, is there any way I can get just from 5 to 10? And here's the reason why. Because if I'm able to take this 5 hours of block and focus, get rid of your damn social media, put it away, and focus, and take care of everything that's difficult, it will literally provide the most freedom. Your weekends will be awesome. Because whether you believe it or not, you're sitting there on Sunday with your buddies or friends, you're thinking about that. So you're not fully engaged in the conversations. And then it goes back to the law of attraction. because the magnetism is changing within your body and you're rejecting everything from you. So procrastination goes into the law of attraction, because if your vibration is, or excuse me, your thoughts are focused on that, those 5 things are now the 600-pound gorilla. You're trying to bring in positive thoughts, you're trying to grow, but it's creating this vibration within your body and you're magnetizing more problems to you. So I always take it back to the law of attraction. Everything goes, because it's energy and numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the danger of procrastination. It affects your spiritual life. It affects your relationships. You can't breathe properly. You start to forget things. And so procrastination is one of the biggest counterintuitives to success.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I totally agree. And also that, because I listen to Grant Cardone a lot as well. And yeah, even with him saying, you know, when you sit there and you procrastinate, and then like you said, it builds up, and then you're letting fear take over you. And what he calls is like you're feeding fear. You know what I mean? So when fear builds up, like, and I tell a lot of people as well, like, when you're scared to do something, you're about to step out of your comfort zone, is obviously when you're going to get the most results, you know? So when you're scared to do something is when you should really do it. And if you fail, then who cares? Because you're probably going to learn something that you've never learned before that'll open up to another door, you know what I mean? And I told them as well, like, I put it in a simple form, like when you're about to open up a door, you don't think twice. It's second nature, subconscious. You just open up the door. But when you're about to try something new, your brain goes through the files. Has he done this before? He's done this. No, he's never done this. Fear, stay away, stay comfortable, you know, homeostasis, stay relaxed, what we know, you know?
Yeah. And the more you practice that, and practice with small things, like, so for example, I tell people, okay, you've been procrastinating on cleaning your garage. Go just clean your garage and complete it. Just practice there. You don't have to do something monumental. Go, your car's dirty. Go wash your car. You're driving home. You're like, oh, I don't want to wash my car. I want to go watch Netflix. Just that one. So we call it timeline decisions. Make a timeline decision to go get uncomfortable and wash your car. Just something small like that. And for example, me, I actually live my life in discomfort. People are like, why you wake up at 2:50? Because I want to be uncomfortable. I hack my schedule from 4 a.m. to 9 o'clock at night because I like being uncomfortable. But when I go, you know, I actually ghost my personal life when I travel and stuff like that. But when I travel, I'm all in, man. I mean, I have I really love my personal life, man. I have such a beauty. I get to go on cool vacations with my kid. Like, so when I work really, really hard, but my comfort feels so good. It feels different because I earn it. And so, but also too, like I have a timeline. There's 9 years left, man. I'm retiring. I'm not working a day in my life after 9 years. My work is going to look different. I'm going to try. So I'm going to come see you, man. I'm going to travel all over the world, meeting people, because the world, Kevin and I, my business partner, we call the world our playground. And like we kind of almost live like gypsies a little bit. Like the earth is our playground. It's literally our home. We always have food. Like that's the thing. Think about this. We're the only living organism that pays to live on this earth.
Honestly, it's so true.
We are the only living organism. That's freaking insane. We're so crazy. We're so smart that we're so. It's greed. But I mean, Tesla, free energy. I mean, we could have free energy. We could feed each other. We can get food. We have animals. We have everything we need. But we're the only living organisms that pay to live on this earth. And so we adopted that the world is ours, and we connected with God. And so, you know, we have this, you know, retail spot here or whatever. And so people have fallen in love with us over here. But like they'll see in the morning after our HIIT workout, I'm sitting on a chair with my feet in the dirt, with the sunrise. Kev's holding on to the tree. He hugs the tree, and people are walking by, and they just gotten used to it. They're like, "Hey guys," and I'm just like, and they're starting to fall, and they're starting. What's happening? You can see they smile more when they walk by because they feel something. I mean, that tree. We have plants in here. I mean, we talk to the plants as we walk, and you have to talk highly to the plants in here because, I mean, we're like, think about it. How are you and I connecting, man? How did we vibrationally align? Like, how did that happen? You explained how it happened, but it wasn't. It's magnetism, man. We're attracted to each other on a vibrational level. Now here we are, and now our stories. I'm going to share your story on mine, and it's like we are all interconnected. Like I would have never met you unless we were vibrationally aligned. And so that's what I want to encourage people to, is to when you raise your vibration, my God, life becomes so much fun. So much. But on the other hand, it's the same way, right? So there's very low vibration. Everything happens to them. Everything's negative. And guys like you and I, everything good happens to us. It's like, it's magnetism, man.
Crazy. It's crazy. And it, like you said, man, it never used to be like this either growing up. I was in a lot of, you know, bad type of relationships as well. And you are who you feed off, you know, those 3 people that you hang around with the most, or that partner you hang around with the most. I mean, if they're negative and stuff, then you're going to become negative. And I was just always like, every time I would see something good, or I just always have something bad to say about them. And then I would wonder why I'm never where I am or where I want to be, but all these people are where they want to be, you know what I mean? So exactly the same as you. So
Yeah.
my next question to you is, do you believe in like new moon manifestations and like crystals and stuff like that? Like, have you seen, I have these, have you heard of these? You know, citrine and
Yes,
amethysts and stuff.
I
Do you
do believe in
believe,
that.
do you believe in that?
If I wouldn't, I'm not gonna, I won't leave the screen, but if I went out into our gym,
Yeah,
our training center, so I have a lot of people don't even know it's there. So I have a gray bag and I have crystals in there.
yeah,
Absolutely. I absolutely believe in it because it's energy, it traps vibration. We have, the reason why we have plants in here is because of that. So the plants that are in here are clear, and everything is connected, man. I completely believe in that 100%. And where I really found that is when I went, so when I left corporate America, I made a commitment to myself in my paradigm, in my mind, that I was going to become a warrior in a modern day society. And so my warrior journey, to me, in my mind, I was knighted to warrior when I went to Peru. And so I went to Peru last year. I worked with shamans and plant medicines and things like that. And my life, to say it changed is an understatement, man. I mean, and where I started to experience how, what you're talking about, crystals, vibration, the rocks, the moon, the stars, the grass, it's hard to explain, man, but it's, if people only knew how important all that stuff is and how healing it is, because it holds energy, it holds vibration. And so absolutely, I believe in that. I 100% do.
yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So, my next question to you, JB, is when, when do you plan on coming to Australia? When's your next trip down to the
Just
land
let
down
us know,
under?
man. We're actually, I think next year, once all this stuff calms down,
Yeah,
that's the next phase of our journey. Is we've been, I'm at a point now where we've built, so we're building, and I've been kind of stuck in the business, and we've made it now where we can actually go. So we're going to start traveling the world now. That's our thing. I'm going to be going to Brazil, back to Peru. I'd love to come see you in Australia. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to go and film with you. We have a production crew. We'd like to film and train together,
yeah,
meet other people, and share content and ideas. Because what I'd like to do is I'd like to connect the world through vibration.
yeah,
And if we all came, so that's why I love meeting people, because I love all religions. What I believe as a human being is, if your religion or your belief system is making you a good person, you're serving people in earth, so be it. Good. If your belief system or religion is making anything bad in your timeline, or you're not serving people or the earth, then it's not for you. And
yeah.
so, so it's a simple, so our goal is to go around the world and meet people, and film, man, and have fun and enjoy each other's company. Cause I believe in abundance, man. And so, yeah, soon, man, you just let us know. We'll be there.
And
Honestly.
whenever you come down, man, I'm going to tell the whole team, because I work on behalf of Build Your Empire University. So it's just a whole, um, you know, team together, and we're massive as well on all of this stuff. So I'm sure people are going to want to come down, train, meet you, pick your brain about all this stuff. So 100%, definitely.
Love to, man. I would love to. Yeah, we'd love to have you down here too. We have I mean, you can see, we have a Warrior Academy. We have our Airdyne bikes. We have an academy in here. That's all
Yeah,
our recording
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah,
we have an in-person academy, and then we train people globally all over the world. So we have 7 countries now, and
yeah,
so we go live every day. We train people. We do mindset coaching. I teach so habit stacking. So like really slowly moving into manifestation, fasting, breathing,
yeah.
getting back in the right hemisphere of the brain. So I'm
Yeah.
ready, man. Let us know.
Beautiful. So one quick question. Obviously this is the most common question, and you're very, very, you know, knowledgeable. So what is the quickest way for someone to burn fat? Now I tell people a lot in the mornings, because for me, when I was doing all my bodybuilding competitions, all I would do is do cardio on a fasted stomach, fasted cardio first thing in the morning to hit the fat stores, and I'd take a thermogenic as well. And then also for me, instead of doing, you know, long hours on the treadmill and that, I was doing carb cycling, and I would also just do HIIT, high intensity interval training, and that for me worked the best. What's your take on that? What do you reckon? What's your
Yeah.
recommendation?
So I always look back at insulin, right? So or looking at glycogen really. So in order to burn fat, you got to get rid of the glycogen stores, right? And it's really understand. So if somebody, so first of all, you understand as a bodybuilder, but if anybody's just a novice listening to this, you have to weightlift. You have to weightlift, right? So make the foundation weightlifting, because that is the highest glycolytic depletion exercise. That's depleting your energy stores to get to the fat cell. Number 2, like you said, really, really high intense interval training. Another powerful way to do that, if you want to enhance that, is taking your Yohembine HCl. So make sure it's the HCl. because that activates the noradrenaline in your nervous system. So weightlifting is a foundation to deplete glycogen stores. You got your high intensity training. Like you said, always on a fasted state. I train on a fasted state. Now I'm huge on intermittent fasting, and a lot of bodybuilders aren't. But why intermittent fasting is so unbelievably important, a couple reasons, is because when your insulin is really low, your growth hormone goes up. They're counterintuitive. When insulin is high, when you eat, right, your growth hormone goes down. And our number one fat burning muscle building hormone is growth hormone. So if you're not enhanced and you're natural, it's advantageous to have your insulin low and your growth hormone high. And why bodybuilders get a little freaked out about intermittent fasting, because they're like, I'm gonna go catabolic if I don't have a protein shake after my workout. It's scientifically impossible. It's just anabolic, increasing molecules, decreasing molecules. You're not gonna eat all your muscle. And so I don't eat. I train high intensity training at 5:15 in the morning. I don't eat until 9 o'clock at night every single night. People are like, oh my God, I'm leaner than I was when I was a bodybuilder. I have more muscle than I was when I was a bodybuilder, because of the intermittent fasting. So I would say intermittent fasting, high intensity training, doing the weightlifting, very, very important. And then I love Yohimbein, man. Yohimbein it's a power, it's natural too. And it really kind of, so people that are like my athletes, I train competitive athletes, bodybuilders, I'd always have the ladies, and it attacks stubborn body fat too. So.
And you have that, you have that product as well through your brand as well? Because I know you sell supplements as well, yeah?
Yep. So we have 3T Warrior Labs. So we have a Warrior gear, a Warrior clothing, and then we have the our number one sellers are Warrior Burn, our fat burn, which is 3-prong. It has energy and focus blend. It has the lipolic blend, which has cola nut and then L-carnitine, and then we have the Yohimbein in there. Then we also have a good amount of caffeine, and it also has what's in chocolate. I can't even pronounce the word. It's a long phenylmenamine word, but it gives you that euphoric feeling. So no stems in it though. I don't put any types of like the unnatural stems. But it's the Yohimbein that really enhances it, because we have Yohimbein bark in it. If you want, I don't sell Yohimbein HCl. It's super cheap. You can get it for like $9 for a whole month's supply. It's an underrated supplement, man. It's been around for a long time. I have Yohimbein bark in my fat burner because it actually sustains it all day. So if you take one Warrior Burn, it's going to last you. You're going to feel it all the way until like 5 o'clock at night.
Wow,
so
beautiful. Okay, cool. So tell everyone, Coach JB, where they can find you, where they can find you on socials, your website and stuff like that. And I'll link it in the.
Yeah, of course. So the best thing is Coach JB _. So Coach JB, J as in John, B as in Victor _. Our academy, you will never find it. We don't advertise it at all. It's completely private. We actually interview people for the academy, and we do that on purpose because we're looking for the one warrior. And so so I don't have a website. I know it sounds weird, but we just do it. We're very not picky, that's not the right word. The universe and magnetism brings our people to us. And that may sound weird, but we're prospering in the worst economic times in the world because we believe that I attract my avatar, people that want to work with me versus trying to sell something, you know. Not that I don't believe in sales funnels and stuff, but it just never worked for us because we're very high value. So Coach JV _ TikTok, Instagram. Our YouTube channel is 3T Warrior Academy. So 3T Warrior, that'll pop up. But if you type in Coach JV _ it'll come up everywhere. My podcast, that's something I'm very proud of. My podcast, it's an 8 to 12 minute podcast. I have over 800 episodes. I do it every single morning, Monday through Friday. That's Coach JV podcast. So I'm really proud. On Spotify, it's in the top in motivation now. So yeah.
Beautiful. Congratulations. And Coach JV, thank you so much. I'll make sure I leave a description and a link for everyone that's watching this video. I appreciate your time. And yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you when you come down to Australia.
Yeah, coming, man. You just give us time. We'll be there.
100%. All right. Thank you. Thank you, brother.